right, so welcome to another deep dive, and today we're going to be looking at what it really means to be human.
Oh, wow.
And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a blog post by Lunarize.
Okay.
And it's titled, What It Truly Means to Be Human.
Interesting.
And it goes, I think, beyond, the kind of day-to-day practicalities of, what it means to be human, and really gets to the heart of connection and support. So
yeah,
I'm really excited to see where this conversation takes us.
It's a rich topic for sure.
Yeah.
This blog post, it seemed to be pushing us to think about the impact of human connection in a whole new light,
Yeah, let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
One of the first things that struck me was how the post differentiates between just helping someone out and really fostering a connection with them.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it makes you wonder about the motivation behind our actions, right? Like, are we focused on just solving the immediate problem? Or are we considering the longer-term impact on the person's well-being and how they see themselves?
It's like the post is asking, when you lend a hand, are you thinking more about checking off a task or about nurturing a relationship?
Yeah, that's good.
That's a question I've been wrestling with myself lately.
It's a subtle but important difference, isn't it?
It is.
And it ties into how we typically measure success, right?
Yeah.
We're often so focused on the tangible money, achievements, finished projects that we overlook the intangible.
Yeah.
And the post suggests that true success in supporting others might be measured in the strength of the connection we build. That feeling of truly being seen and heard.
That reminds me of a time when, actually, let's save that story for later.
Right.
But the point is, I've definitely felt that shift in my own perspective from focusing on the what of helping to the how and the why.
Yeah, I think that's a journey many of us go through.
Yeah.
And the post highlights how that shift can have a ripple effect.
Right.
Influencing not just our immediate interactions, but also our broader outlook on things like money and societal values.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where it starts to get really intriguing for me, because the post connects this idea of support to our perception of money. It's almost like it's asking, what if by supporting others authentically, we could shift our own perspective on money and what it truly represents?
It's a fascinating proposition.
Yeah.
We live in a world where money is so central.
Right.
It's hard to even imagine thinking about it differently.
Yeah.
But the post seems to be suggesting that money can become less of an end goal and more of a tool for fostering deeper connection.
Right.
And creating a more meaningful life.
It's like, instead of seeing money as the measure of success, we start to see human connection and genuine well-being as the true wealth. That really resonated with me.
It challenges the dominant narrative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it brings to mind the work of Joe Dispenza.
Oh, yeah. The post mentions him, too.
Neuroscientist and author.
Right.
Who emphasizes how our thoughts and feelings shape our reality.
So for those unfamiliar with his work, he essentially suggests that we can change our reality by changing our personality. Our ingrained patterns of thinking and feeling.
Exactly. And if we apply that to our relationship with money, it raises a really thought-provoking possibility.
Yeah.
What if, by shifting our mindset from scarcity to abundance, from competition to collaboration, we could actually experience a sense of wealth that isn't tied to our bank account balance?
Now, hold on a second. I can already hear some folks pushing back on this and saying this is all a bit too idealistic,
Right.
Get real. Money makes the world go round.
Fair point. Yeah. And I don't think the post is advocating for some utopian world where money is irrelevant.
Okay.
But it is urging us to consider whether our current relationship with money is truly serving us, or if there might be a more balanced and fulfilling way to approach it.
Right. It's about questioning those deeply ingrained assumptions about money and its role in our lives.
Exactly.
And maybe, just maybe, discovering that true wealth lies in something far more profound than just our financial assets.
And perhaps the act of supporting others can be a catalyst for that shift in perspective.
That's a great segue into another key theme in the post.
Okay.
The idea of mastering our inner world as a pathway to truly supporting others. It's like the post is saying, look, before you go out and try to change the world, take a look inward.
Right. There's a real emphasis on the idea that our inner state, our thoughts, emotions, and even our physical sensations have a direct impact on how we interact with and support others.
You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Right.
So how do we fill our own cups, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can genuinely support others? The post touches on a few key concepts.
Okay.
It talks about mindfulness, presence, and love as essential qualities
Right.
for fostering true connection.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really delve into what those things actually look like in practice.
That's where the real work begins, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one thing to intellectually grasp the importance of these qualities, but how do we actually cultivate them in our daily lives? That's the challenge, and the post doesn't really provide a roadmap for that.
So I guess that's where we come in.
Right.
We need to explore those practical steps,
Right.
those techniques and practices that can help us
Exactly.
cultivate a more mindful,
Yeah.
present, and loving way of being in the world.
And perhaps by delving into those practices, we'll not only discover how to better support others, but also how to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life for ourselves.
I'm really excited to dive into that with you.
Great.
But before we do,
Okay.
let's take a closer look at this concept of mastering our inner world.
Okay.
The post references Joe Dispenza's work again, specifically his idea that our personality creates our personal reality. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So Dispenza's theory, in a nutshell, is that our habitual thoughts, feelings, and behaviors create a sort of energetic blueprint that shapes our experiences.
So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about really digging deep.
Yeah.
And understanding how our thoughts and feelings and actions are interconnected.
Exactly.
And how they are shaping our experiences.
Precisely. And the post suggests that this inner work is crucial for developing the capacity to truly support others.
Okay.
Because if we're constantly reacting from a place of stress, anxiety, or judgment, those energies will inevitably bleed into our interactions.
It's like if we're not grounded and at peace within ourselves,
Right.
how can we possibly offer
Good question.
genuine support and stability to others?
It's a valid question, and it highlights the importance of cultivating inner mastery, not just for our own benefit,
Right.
but also for the benefit of those around us.
So how do we do that? How do we cultivate this inner mastery? The post mentions mindfulness, presence, and love as key ingredients.
Right.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one we'll explore in more depth
Okay.
as we continue this deep dive.
Right.
But for now, let's just hold on to this idea that true support begins with cultivating our own inner state of well-being.
Okay. I'm ready to take a deeper dive into that.
Right.
But I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our conversation.
Yeah.
We've talked about the distinction between transactional support and genuine connection, the potential for shifting our perspective on money,
Right.
and the importance of mastering our inner world as a foundation for truly supporting others.
It's been a rich conversation so far.
Yeah.
And it's only the beginning.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive, where we'll delve into specific practices and techniques that can help us cultivate that inner mastery and explore how to bring more mindfulness, presence, and love into our daily interactions.
I like it.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. You know, as we were talking about mastering our inner world, it made me think of this analogy.
Okay.
Imagine trying to offer someone a glass of water when your own pitcher is cracked and leaking. You might be able to give them a few sips,
Right.
but you're constantly losing water yourself.
That's a really vivid image.
Yeah.
And it highlights how important it is to address our own inner state
Right.
before we can truly support others effectively.
Yeah.
It's like if we're running on empty, we can't possibly give from a place of abundance.
Exactly. So the question becomes, how do we fill our own pitchers, so to speak?
Right.
How do we cultivate that inner reservoir of well-being, presence, and compassion that allows us to show up for others in a genuine and meaningful way?
Well, the post mentions mindfulness, presence, and love, But I admit those words can feel a bit abstract sometimes.
Yeah.
What do they actually look like in our day-to-day lives? What are some tangible practices we can incorporate to cultivate those qualities?
It's a great question, and I think it's important to acknowledge that there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Sure.
But let's explore some possibilities.
Right.
Mindfulness, for example, can be as simple as paying attention to your breath for a few moments throughout the day.
Okay.
It's about noticing the sensations of breathing, the rise and fall of your chest, without judgment.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about clearing your mind completely,
Right.
but more about just observing your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
Exactly. And as you practice this, you might notice that you're able to create a little space between yourself and your thoughts. A little breathing room where you can choose how you want to respond rather than just reacting habitually.
I've tried a bit of meditation myself.
Okay.
And I'll admit it can be challenging at first.
Yeah.
My mind tends to race all over the place.
Sure.
But I have noticed that when I manage to quiet my mind, even for a few minutes, I feel a sense of calmness and clarity that carries over into the rest of my day.
That's a common experience.
Yeah.
You know, meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness.
Right.
But it's also a practice.
Yeah.
Which means it requires patience and consistency. And there are so many different types of meditation. You know, you might experiment with guided meditations, focusing on a mantra.
Yeah.
Or even simply walking in nature while paying attention to your senses.
So it's about finding what resonates with you and making it a regular part of your routine.
I like that.
What about presence?
Okay.
How do we become more present in our interactions?
Presence is about bringing your full attention to the current moment without distraction.
Okay.
It's about putting down your phone, stepping away from the to-do list, and truly engaging with the person or the task in front of you.
And it sounds like a lot of that comes down to simply being a good listener. Yeah. Truly hearing what the other person is saying without interrupting or letting your mind wander.
Absolutely. It's about giving the gift of your undivided attention.
Yeah.
Which can be incredibly powerful. Think about a time when someone truly listened to you without judgment or distraction. How did that make you feel?
Seen, heard, valued.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much of a difference it makes when someone simply makes you feel like you matter.
Exactly. And that's the essence of presence. Making the other person feel like they are the most important thing in the world at that moment.
And what about love?
Okay.
That feels like an even bigger concept.
Sure.
How do we bring more love into our interactions?
Well, love can be expressed in countless ways. It can be a kind word, a helping hand, a genuine smile, a heartfelt hug. It's about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, even those who challenge us,
right,
or who we might perceive as different.
And it's important to remember that love isn't just something we express outwardly.
Right.
It also starts with self-love. Cultivating kindness and compassion for ourselves lays the foundation for extending that love to others.
So it's like that oxygen mask analogy on airplanes.
Right.
You have to put on your own mask.
You can't pour from an empty cup
before you can help anyone else.
Right. Exactly.
Precisely by nurturing our own well-being.
Yeah.
By filling our own cups with love, presence, and mindfulness. We create a reservoir of positive energy that we can then share with others.
Okay, this is all making sense, but I have to be honest.
Sure.
Life is busy.
Yeah.
I'm juggling work, family, commitments. How do I actually find the time and energy to prioritize all of this?
It's a valid concern, and it's important to remember that this isn't about adding more things to your already packed schedule.
Right.
It's about finding ways to integrate these practices into your daily life in a way that feels sustainable and authentic.
So it might be as simple as taking a few deep breaths before a meeting or listening mindfully to a loved one without multitasking or expressing gratitude for the small things throughout the day.
It's about weaving these practices into the fabric of your life,
right?
Rather than treating them as separate, isolated tasks and Even small, consistent actions can have a ripple effect.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about making small shifts in our perspective and our behavior that over time can lead to profound changes in how we experience the world and how we connect with others.
And as we cultivate this inner mastery, as we fill our own pitchers with love, presence, and mindfulness, we become more capable of offering genuine and transformative support to others.
So it's not just about helping people solve their problems. It's about helping them see themselves and their potential in a new light.
I like that.
It's about empowering them to create lasting change in their lives.
And it's about recognizing that true support isn't a one-way street.
Right.
It's a reciprocal exchange that nourishes both the giver and the receiver.
This brings us back to the blog post's definition of being truly human.
Yeah.
It's about embracing our capacity for deep feeling, connection, and compassion. It's about recognizing that we are all interconnected.
Right.
And that our actions, no matter how small, have the power to create a ripple effect in the world around us.
It's a reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from material possessions or external achievements. It comes from the depth of our relationships and the impact we make on the world around us.
You know, that reminds me of something you said earlier.
Okay.
You mentioned an experience that had shifted your perspective from focusing on the what of helping to the how and the why.
Right.
I'm curious to hear that story now, if you're willing to share.
Sure. It was a few years ago.
That was really powerful.
Yeah.
It really brings to life the transformative power of genuine connection and support.
Absolutely.
And it circles back to what we were discussing earlier. The idea that by nurturing our own inner world, we become more capable of offering that kind of deep, heartfelt support.
It's a beautiful cycle, isn't it?
It is.
By cultivating mindfulness, presence, and love within ourselves, we not only enhance our own well-being, but also create a ripple effect that touches the lives of those around us.
And this brings us back to the central question of our deep dive.
Okay.
What does it truly mean to be human?
Good question.
The Lunarize blog offers a perspective that goes beyond the typical definitions. It suggests that being human is about embracing our capacity for deep feeling, connection, and compassion.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness and understanding that our actions, no matter how small, have the power to create a ripple effect.
That's powerful.
In the world around us.
It's a reminder that true fulfillment doesn't come from material possessions or external achievements. It comes from the depth of our relationships and the impact we make on the world around us.
So if supporting others is such a powerful reminder of our shared humanity, what small act of support will you commit to today?
It's a powerful question to consider. And as you reflect on it, remember the importance of bringing your full self to that act of support. Your presence, your compassion, and your love.
It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be as simple as offering a listening ear to a friend who's going through a tough time, volunteering your time at a local charity. Or even just offering a genuine smile
like that
to a stranger.
Remember, even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect, creating a wave of positivity and connection that spreads throughout our communities and beyond.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the Lunarize blog, I want to leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
Imagine a world where everyone strives to cultivate inner mastery, to be present and compassionate in their interactions, and to offer genuine support to those around them.
It's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
It is.
And it all starts with each of us taking responsibility for our own inner world. And making a conscious effort to spread kindness and support wherever we go.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
For this deep dive into the heart of what it means to be human.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's inspired you to think differently about connection, support, and the power of our everyday interactions.
And remember, the journey of cultivating inner mastery and extending support to others is an ongoing one. It's a journey that reminds us of the interconnectedness of all beings and the power of human connection to create positive change.
Until next time.
Okay.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Sounds good.